करते हैं आज के दिन की शुरुआत। सेशन 1, हॉटस्पॉट्स अराउंड भारत। भारत एक डायनामिक जियोपॉलिटिकल एनवायरनमेंट में स्थित है, जहां अलग अलग रीजन्स में नए चैलेंजेस और अपॉर्चुनिटीज निकल के आ रही हैं। चाहे बात को बॉर्डर टेंशंस की, स्ट्रेटेजिक अलायंसेस की या इंटरनल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स की, ये सब देश के फ्यूचर को शेप करते हैं। आज के सेशन में हम डिस्कस करेंगे भारत के आसपास के हॉटस्पॉट्स, उनका जियोपॉलिटिक्स पर इम्पैक्ट और उनके बीच भारत के आगे का रुख क्या होना चाहिए। And before I start introducing the dignitaries, I want to say it's an absolute honor for me to give out these names and talk about them today. General Kandare ji, Lieutenant General Vinod G. Kandare, PVSM, ABSM, SM, is a former officer of the Indian Army and currently serves as the Principal Advisor in the Ministry of Defence. With an illustrious career, he has held key roles including Military Advisor to the National Security Council, Secretariat of India and Director General of the Defence Intelligence Agency. His extensive expertise in intelligence, defence strategy and national security makes him a critical voice in understanding and addressing strategic hotspots around Bharat. We welcome Lieutenant General Kandare. Shri Tilak Deveshwar ji. Tilak ji is a renowned author and expert on Pakistan with 3 critically acclaimed books, Pakistan, Porting the Abyss Pakistan, At the Helm and Pakistan, the Balochistan Conundrum. A retired Special Secretary of the Cabinet Secretariat, Government of India, he brings deep insights into regional security and geopolitical dynamics. Currently, he serves as a member of the National Security Advisory Board, that's the NSAB, and a consultant with the Vivekanand International Foundation, making him a vital authority on strategic hotspots surrounding Bharat. Aye, sir. Shri Dushyant Singh ji, Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh, PVSM, AVSM retired, is a highly decorated military veteran who has commanded key formations in Jammu and Kashmir and the East, including serving in the elite National Security Guards, that's the NSG. A counter-terrorism expert, he has authored the book Grey Zone Warfare, Way Ahead for India, and contributed to various strategic publications. Currently, he serves as Vice Chairman of Stride India think tank and Professor Emeritus at Rashtriya Raksha University. Aye, sir ji. Shri RSN Singh ji, Colonel RSN Singh Ravi Shankar Narayan Singh ji is a former research and analysis wing raw officer and also a former Indian Army officer. He has written several books and has given talks on geopolitical defense and strategic issues, particularly from an Indian perspective. We welcome you, Singh ji. And the chair for today's session, the first session, Srimati Tara Kartha ji. Dr. Tara Kartha served at the National Security Council Secretariat, that's the NSCS, Government of India, during the tenure of 5 National Security Advisors. She was first part of the Joint Intelligence Committee, focusing primarily for early warning of impending terror and other threats. She was a Jennings-Randolph Fellow at the United States Institute of Peace. She was part of Track 2 Dialogues with Pakistan. She is now Director, Research and Academics at the Center for Land Warfare, New Delhi. We welcome you, ma'am. The stage is all yours.
But you can hear me, right? So we start with the chivalry of the Indian Armed Forces. So I'm right in the center. So I'm not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing. Okay, so this session is about our neighborhood and just how turbulent it is. I mean, it is, I don't think we'd ever seen it quite so in a shake-up as it is now. All around, right? There's trouble. And also, I was asked to address the question of whether the US is a friend or an enemy. So that itself is a entire subject by itself. Yes, having seen how Trump dealt with Zelensky yesterday. So it's not going to be easy. So he's going to either tear you apart or love you like crazy. So we have to decide which way we want to go. But on a serious note, I think it's the last term which Trump was there, he didn't really shake up Asia. I mean South Asia at least. He left us alone by and large. He did his usual thing with the rest of the world. He is going to be very, very, I mean, it's not, I think, enough to say that Trump is transactional. That's not enough. We have to go beyond that. He is, to my mind, a very hard-headed, I won't say statesman, that's going too far, but he knows what he wants and he knows how to get it. You don't have to worry about Angrezi and English which is surrounding diplomacy. He goes straight to the point. This is what I want. Are you going to give it or not? So in some ways, it's easier to deal with him because you know exactly where you stand. But in some ways, it's also because there's no permanent friend or enemies as far as is concerned. And it depends on what you can give him and what he's going to get back in return. So to my mind, that's a good thing. I mean, why not? In each of these areas which we're looking at, in terms of Myanmar, in terms of Bangladesh, and in terms of our border, the US has a very strong role. So in those interactions, I would ask you to also include how do you see the US influencing those areas? What kind of role will the US play? Because like it or not, it is the most powerful actor today. So General Khandane, if I can start with you.
Thank you, madam. And firstly, Jai Hind to everyone. The point about hotspots, and I was told about Act East policy specifically. So when we look at Act East policy, one clarification that I want to speak here, hotspot around India or also in India, especially in Northeast. आप उसको जब तक नहीं देखेंगे तब तक आप बाहर का क्या देखना चाह रहे हो and especially when states are these frontline states and we are not able to handle them to the best of our capability, then obviously the neighborhood is vulnerable to the superpowers. And you specifically mentioned about Myanmar and Bangladesh. To a large extent, Myanmar has been left open due to the US policy of sanctions, and China is having a field day there. So when we look at Act East policy, and we have 4 C's there, so whether it is culture, commerce, connectivity and capacity building, and then you have a sanction policy imposed by US, not now, but for a very long time. A small anecdote here. One of our companies, I don't want to name it, but had a major contract signed with Myanmar for 3,000 trucks, military trucks. 3,000 is a big number. And the US cracked the whip and said if this company provides trucks to Myanmar, then there will be sanctions. So 30 trucks given and immediately they withdrew. Who steps in? China. Now, if you don't want to sell them missiles or Indian arms, who sells it to them? China. So this policy of sanctions around India, without consultation with India, does it help us or does it harm us? So that is something which we have to look at. On the second part, what exactly is happening within Myanmar is the military junta is in control of the areas which are plains but not the hill areas. And we are actually sharing our boundaries with Myanmar, which is all hill area. Now, historically, there have always been invasions from the Burmese side onto our side, whether the Ahom kingdom or whether the Manipur as a state. So, because of these boundaries and because of presence of the Indian Armed Forces, maybe that has stopped. But otherwise, insurgency and the movement of rebels on both sides, terrorism is continuing. The kind of sanctuaries that they have, not because of the junta being accomplished, but because the junta not being powerful enough in the hill areas. So that is the reason that we have a continuous problem. A lot of misinformation, misnomers, and especially since the time Manipur has been hot, to say that, cookies have now come into Manipur, it's not so. Even before the British, the Methi, the king, had invited the cookies there. So, in fact, without adequate knowledge, we should not come to conclusion. That is one point about what is happening in Manipur and what is the relationship with Myanmar. Between Myanmar and Bangladesh, very quickly, the Arakan army has actually taken control of a large tract of land, sharing the borders with Bangladesh. So that is a trouble spot. What is the implication on India? So when 2014, our Prime Minister announced Act East policy, which was a furtherance of Look East policy of 1991, which Prime Minister Narasimha Rao had announced. So there were 4 C's which were mentioned: culture, connectivity, commerce, and capacity building. So you have a trouble spot like this, then your connectivity is gone. Your future projects like the Kaladan multimodal transit project, that is gone. It's not continuing. And the India-Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway, that is also not progressing. So in the bargain, unless you have peace in this area, our Act East policy will not be able to succeed. So I think what we need to do is to get this, at least firstly, the area normalized.
And thanks, that was a really solid roundup with developments. So I'm going to go on with the China angle. So if I can come to television scene, in terms of the boundary issues, I think everybody knows there's no need to get to that. Someone said, which I referred to yesterday also at my former essay, said this, that China is like, it's like a balloon. We pokes one area, the other area flares up. So he does it at will. And it's not always linked to territory. It is that anything that you do anywhere, he puts pressure on a bottle. So, maybe have you like to sleep on that?
Jai to everybody. First of all, the thanks to original media for giving us this opportunity to speak to you all. And when we are discussing about hotspots, as Tara has just asked me that question, you cannot discuss our hotspots without discussing China. Because it's omnipresent almost everywhere around us. In fact, competing to be a superpower in the making, or it's almost arrived as a superpower. So it has its interests. So if it has its interests, obviously it will try to influence our neighbors to ensure that it meets its interests. So if we look at China, I think we are in a very, very critical period out here. You see, India is still growing. We have still not reached that threshold of, a good 10 to 12 trillion economy. We have still not reached that level of technological development. If you look at the figures, and I'll just quote a very small figure about AI investment. We are third largest investor in the world, but look at the gap. US invested in the last 5 years 328 billion. The Chinese have done 132 billion, and India stands at the third spot with 16 billion. So that's the kind of asymmetry which we are having with China. So they are also looking at this particular window where they can sort out their 2 big issues, Taiwan and India. Now between Taiwan and India, which takes priority, in my view, Taiwan may be an India-Pakistan kind of emotional issue as far as China is concerned, but India is its interest issue, national interest issue, where it sees India as a competitor. which sees India's rise in the last 5 years as threatening somewhere its regional dominance as well. You see, something happened in the Philippines, and the Indian Navy sent out a fleet right up to Philippines, giving a clear-cut message that we are no more a pushover. We are no more trying to be a diplomat as far as our our actions are concerned. So we will be not faced with a China problem for the future. And it is in our interest that we ensure that we do not get into a major conflict with China, because if that happens, then I think there will be a huge asymmetry between India and China, and we need to actually avoid that if you want to have that aim of ANT 2047 or Viksit Bharat. For that, we need our economy to grow unhindered. What China is exactly doing is to ensure that we do not go at that particular. So what is it doing? It's basically taken that easy path of gray zone. What it is doing as part of gray zone is doing almost on an everyday basis, whether it is pinpricking us on the land borders, whether it is provoking our neighbors to do something which is against our interests. Bangladesh situation, whether it was created because of internal situation of Bangladesh or foreign meddling or because of XYZ stand of India, is not important. What is important is that the Bangladesh now getting on a boil, the Chinese have a very, very smart advantage here. One of our most critical strategic vulnerabilities is now exposed both from the north, south, and the east, which is Bhutan. So therefore, I think we need to invest as part of this entire hotspots which are around us to ensure that we are in close harmony with Bhutan, so that Bhutan is not exploited, given the vulnerability of our the Siliguri corridor. Similarly, Nepal has been kept unstable. 13 government changes in 16 years. And it is Friend Kohli who keeps coming back and back again. And therefore he starts doing this pin breaking of Barahoudin, map release, currency. On a currency, have you ever seen a map being placed just to finger India? I think India needs to be now smart. How exactly we need to be smart? I think I can cover in the next round of talk. But for the time being, we have to live with China. The hotspots will become burning hotspots probably in the times to come, unless we do some smart. And I don't hesitate to say that why not we can also play the gray zone, and we should do it. Thank you.
So coming from that gray zone aspect, I think I'm very tempted to go to Pakistan or Bangladesh. I'm sure which is actually in a worse state right now. But let me go to Bangladesh, because there we not, it's a very curious space. We have enough data about the Pakistani ISI doing XYZ and whatnot. There's very, very little information on what the Chinese intelligence is doing. And except I think in terms of the information warfare, with something, in terms of cyber attacks and everything. But what are they actually doing on the ground? So would you like to speak on Bangladesh, Pakistan, or this Chinese cat force? So
आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। ये हॉटस्पॉट की बात हो रही है, तो मैं ना आपको बता दूं कि मैं इस पूरे हॉटस्पॉट्स को आइडियोलॉजिकल प्रिज्म से देखता हूं। और अब आप नेबरहुड अगर आप देखें तो आपके दो आइडियोलॉजिकल नेबर्स हैं, पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश। और तिब्बत है, चाइनीज है, वो भी एक तरह का आइडियोलॉजिकल नेबर है। और एक पाकिस्तान बांग्लादेश में है। ये आपने बांग्लादेश का बात किया है, ये आप कभी ना भूले हैं कि एक्चुअली बांग्लादेश हैज ओनली टेम्पररली veered away from पाकिस्तान। जब वो इलेक्शन हुआ था वहां पे 1970 में, I don't think the Awami League, I don't remember the percentage, but it was somewhere between 40 and 50. Awami League को मिला था उसमें वोट्स। rest all had voted for Pakistan. So the Pakistan out of Bangladesh had never gone. तो एक तरह में 3 पाकिस्तान है, एक वेस्ट पाकिस्तान जो अभी पाकिस्तान बोलते हैं, बांग्लादेश है, एंड पाकिस्तान विद इन इंडिया. अब हॉटस्पॉट्स की जब हम बात करते हैं यहाँ पे, तो आपको मैं बता दूं ये कि हमारा जो थ्रेट परसेप्शन जो था, मैंने मिलिट्री इंटेलिजेंस डायरेक्टरेट और इनके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में भी काम किया, तिलक साहब के ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में. तो इतना क्रूड वे ऑफ ऑफ असेसिंग थ्रेट परसेप्शन था मिलिट्री इंटेलिजेंस डायरेक्टरेट में बांग्लादेश को लेके. दे ओनली टॉक्ड इन टर्म्स ऑफ अच्छा कितना है, इतनी मिलिट्री बैलेंस, काउंटिंग द पीस, उनके टैंक्स इतने, हमारे आर्टिकल्स, इतना वेरी क्रूड. And that time I used to say that there are some very, very sophisticated issues, security issues, connected with Bangladesh. 4,100 kilometers of border, impacting on 5 states. तो एक चीज तो अच्छा हुआ, that was not the case with Tilak Sir's organization. For some time it was my organization also. वहां पे बहुत ज्यादा सेंसिटिविटी थी बांग्लादेश को लेकर. लेकिन मुझे इस बात की बहुत खुशी है कि बांग्लादेश में जो हुआ, जो भी है, यूएसए ने करवाया, हिलरी क्लिंटन ने करवाया, वो सबको मालूम है. दी सेम फोर्सेज आर ऑपरेटिंग देयर आल्सो. ठीक है ना. अभी पता नहीं आगे क्या होगा, अभी कहाँ से चुप गए हैं लोग जाके कहीं पे, बट आई डोंट नो, प्रोबेबली अ क्रैकडाउन हैज बिगन. लेकिन है क्या कि कम से कम ये हुआ कि एक आम आदमी भारत का वो सेंसिटाइज हुआ बांग्लादेश को लेकर. और तब जो ये ज़ोलैंड और ये क्रिश्चियन जो प्रोजेक्ट है, क्रिश्चियन लैंड का प्रोजेक्ट, वो खुल के सामने आया है. एंड ये किसी से छिपी हुई बात नहीं है. लालू धोमा वेंट टू यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका. यू सी द काइंड ऑफ स्टेटमेंट्स ही मेड. आपने अभी सुना होगा कि आइजॉल एयरपोर्ट को बताया कि भाई एयरफोर्स को दे दो. अभी को बहुत तकलीफ हो रही है उससे. एज अ रिस्पॉन्सिबल बॉर्डर स्टेट दे शुड हैव वेलकम द मूव. तो थैंक गॉड दे हैव सेंट समबडी, जनरल वीके सिंह को भेजा है और नेबरिंग मणिपुर में एक्स होम सेक्रेटरी को भेजा है, क्योंकि उसमें आई एम वेरी हैप्पी दैट आई थिंक इट्स अ राइट मूव. But as far as Bangladesh is concerned, it concerns Myanmar, it concerns Bangladesh, it concerns Bay of Bengal, and then the Chinese, and then Pakistan. ये तो कह रहे ISI आ गया, उधर आके घूम गया. अबे घूम गया तो घूमने दो ना. ये बात आप क्यों बोलते हो कि जमायते इस्लामी इंडिया, जमायते इस्लामी बांग्लादेश, जमायते इस्लामी पाकिस्तान में क्या फर्क है, आप मुझे बताइए. इज देयर एनी डिफरेंस? तो आईएसआई का जनरल आके घूम गया, अरे घूमने दो उसको. खतरा कुछ और है. एंड देन देयर आर ऑफ कोर्स एक्स्ट्रा रीजनल प्लेयर्स. और एक लास्ट में मैं आप लोगों को एक बात बता दूं. शायद देखिए, Tilak Saab is a Pakistan expert. I have also written a book on Pakistan. ये तो सबको मालूम है कि पाकिस्तान was a Western project. तो उस समय क्या था, ये जो चिटागोंग हिल ट्रैक्स का इलाका जो था, वो सबको ये मालूम था वहां पे लोगों को कि हम मतलब आजादी मिल गई, हम भारत का हिस्सा है. उन्होंने 15 अगस्त 1947 पे चिटागोंग हिल ट्रैक्स के लोगों ने झंडा फहराया हिंदुस्तान का. और 17 अगस्त आगे उनको बताया कि नहीं तुम पाकिस्तान जा रहे. दैट वाज अ डील बिटवीन मॉन्कपे टेरेस एंड मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना. तो उसने बोला जिन्ना मोमी देख, 2 चीज, पाकिस्तान बना रहा हूं, कराची पोर्ट जब भी मांगूंगा देना, और इधर चिटागोंग देना. तो उसने कहा कि भाई आप ये तो दे दोगे आप चिटागोंग पोर्ट, where is the depth? तो बोले ठीक है चिटागोंग हिल ट्रैक्ट्स में है. सो जो ये प्रोजेक्ट देख रहे हैं सेंट मार्टिन आइलैंड वगैरह का, ये कोई नई बात नहीं है. आपके थ्रेट परसेप्शन में इट वाज ऑफ योर रडार, because we are concerned with very crude security issues. तो जब हॉटस्पॉट्स की बात मैं कर रहा हूं, और आइडियोलॉजिकल मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं कि आइडियोलॉजिकल एनिमीज है तो जिहाद चलेगा, उनके द्वारा स्पॉन्सर किया, अलकायदा के फॉर्म में भी हो सकता है, लश्कर तोयबा की, जैश मोहम्मद के भी फॉर्म में चलेगा. बिकॉज यू हैव आइडियोलॉजिकल नेबर, तो माओवाद भी चलेगा. So this is, as far as hotspots is concerned, you asked me specifically about Bangladesh, so I thought I'd cover this.
Thanks very much. The Chittagong hill tracks thing I really didn't know. So I'm going to shift to Pakistan, which actually we can have 2 hours researching, because there's so much this country does. Gets. I mean, there doesn't seem to, right now, what we're seeing is Pakistan is saying, look at me, nobody's looking at me, because they are in that kind of a situation that nobody's bothers. He's probably even talking of Pakistan, maybe not. We are not, I think, overly concerned with Pakistan, though in some ways what you're saying is right, we should not overlook that threat. As far as I'm concerned, it is a 24/7 threat. I mean, I think a lot of us now keep talking about China, and that I'm not saying the focus on Pakistan is gone, but that is a very dangerous country. So over to you, Mr. Bashir.
Thank you, Jay, to everybody. This effect, so the topic that was given to me was part of a security briefing. So let me preface my comments by saying, what should India say? Why are we concerned about Afghanistan? The leaders, they came and looted us. And in Shabdali, they talk about the raiders invasion. But I just want to put this in one sentence and maybe you can think about it. Because there's an old Indian saying that he who wants to be emperor of India must first be master of flower. This is a very deep saying, and I think people need to think about this more. Why is Afghanistan so important for us today? Despite Taliban, I'll start my thing about Pakistan and Afghanistan in August 2021, when the Taliban marched into Kabul. And there was triumphalism, there was joy, there was rejoicing in that. In fact, Imran Khan said that the Afghans had broken the shackles of slavery. And his joy was doubled because he said the biggest loser is India, because they have lost the billions they had invested in Afghanistan. Pakistan's policy was based on 3 assumptions. First, that the Taliban in Kabul would throw India out. India would have no presence. Second, the Taliban would recognize the Iran line. And third, the Taliban will take care of the big threat to Pakistan, which was the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. 3 years down the road, none of these assumptions have proved to be true. In fact, they've gone horribly wrong. India is back in Kabul at the invitation of the Taliban. The Taliban have not only not recognized the Iran line, but has also destroyed or taken out parts of the Iran line, and they have declined to take care of the DTP. So today, 3 years after Taliban marched into Kabul, the question is what went wrong? Why is there now shooting at various times between Pakistan and Afghanistan border troops? Because this is a very strange conclusion of what is happening. Because for 20 years, Pakistan looked after, fed, armed, trained the Taliban, and ultimately allowed them to capture Kabul in August 2021. So what went wrong? This, deserves an answer. And the reason is complex. One of the main reasons is that Pakistan did not realize the depths of the relationship between Taliban and Tehreek-e-Taliban. You see, the people in the country that knows the Pashtuns the most is Pakistan. Despite this, they totally miscalculated what the Pashtuns were. The reason is simple. When the Taliban needed help when they were thrown out of the United States from Afghanistan in 2001 after 9/11. It was the people in the tribal areas in the northwest, in the federally administered tribal areas, as was called then, who gave them shelter. As per the norms of Pashtun belief, which is the Pashtun code, today when the TTP needs help, the Taliban has to provide them help. If they don't, they will be called beggars, without honor. And that is the worst slur, worst gali that you can give to a Pashtun. You know, in Punjabi gave many other galis. But there, the biggest gali for a Pashtun is if you call him Kanyarat. So the TTP will not take action. Now the TTP has been hurting Pakistan very badly. In fact, I have some statistics, so I'll just give you one. In 2024, last year, the attacks of the TTP and other Baloch groups totally resulted in the killing on a monthly basis of 57 Pakistan Army, paramilitary and police of soldiers. Can you imagine the level of attrition? 57 per month, month after month. Here in India, soldiers are killed in Kashmir, the whole country is up in arms and holds the government responsible. There are 57 per month. And yet the army chief finds time to go to London and all over the place. So they are being badly hurt by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Pakistan has requested the Taliban to help them. Taliban said, we will bring you two together, you can hold talks with them, it's your problem, you deal with it. This problem is not going away. So the basic question of why relations have broken down is this. The second issue which you must remember is that the Durand Line. Now you also have heard about it, the Durand Line. This was a line drawn by, or an agreement reached by Amir Abdul Rahman in 1893 with the British Farzanki Mortimer Durand. This actually drew spheres of influence. In the colonial era, sovereignty was not changed, but each country got spheres of influence. But before, at the time of partition, the colonial power wanted to have a strong Pakistan because they wanted to use Pakistan against Russia and for the protection of the wills of power, all the Middle East oil. So there it lay that this was no longer a sphere of influence but an international boundary. No Afghan government, including the Taliban or Zahir Shah or the Republicans or the Communists, no one has accepted the Durand Line as an international border. It remains disputed as far as the Afghans are concerned. And the reason for this is that they have lost justification. Because in 1921, the last treaty between Afghanistan and British India, the Indo-Afghan Frontier Agreement, had a clause that any country, that the agreement is valid only for 3 years. After 3 years, any of the two parties, that is British India or Afghanistan, can break the treaty by giving 1 month's notice. In 1949, Afghanistan entered a loyal era in which they rescinded all the treaties with Britain. Therefore, as it stands today, for Afghanistan, there is no recognized international boundary with Pakistan. And Pakistan's effort has been to get some Afghan government to accept this as an international point. Taliban didn't do it earlier, Taliban have not done it now, and they haven't done it again. So for this reason, relations between Pakistan and Afghanistan are going to continue to be disturbed, may even escalate to, not to war, but certainly to localized action, and we can sit back and watch the fun. Thank you.
I think it's one aspect I was thinking actually was that it's really strange. The trajectory of Afghanistan and the trajectory of Pakistan has reversed. Now, Afghanistan is actually doing better in terms of its, it's trying to get there. Diplomacy is coming back, education, we are trying. It's a different sad fact that the girls are bounding in. But if you look at baseline indicators, they are on an upward trajectory. Pakistan has continuously like that. But in all this, there is again the China side. China has got very good relationship with Pakistan. So I don't know whether it works to our advantage, or is it that we actually have corporate interests with China in some areas. They don't like jihadi terrorism, for instance. So I don't know whether that works in Bangladesh. So I actually now going to throw the floor open to questions if that's okay. Or would you like to say something else? So I'm okay. Yeah.
I wanted to lay on one issue which Arsens mentioned. In the passing, he made a very important point about the impact on their people. That is particularly important because जब आप hotspot देखते हैं, so it should not be restricted to only the land part. And would it have been better if Bay of Bengal would have been considered a Bay of Peace? It would have helped India. But the moment you opened up the kind of submarines, 2 big class submarines given to Bangladesh, the Sheikh Hasina submarine base, there are 8 bases there, and Bangladesh has 2 submarines. What are those balance 6 meant for? And then started also the race for submarines to Myanmar. Now, what are we looking at? We think that Bangladesh and Myanmar are going to have a maritime, but not at all. So this entire business of hotspot also transfers to the maritime domain, and maritime domain particularly because our trade and commerce is going to be severely impacted with that. So while we can keep saying that there are 4 choke points, Malacca dilemma continues, but I think it's a matter of time when the heat will be felt on this side also.
I have a very limited point, when we are talking of hotspots. You would appreciate that India's strategic outreach has increased manifold. So should we consider the Red Sea as a hotspot? Do you employ your ships there? More than a dozen ships. So I think we need to, when we talk about neighborhood, with this advancement in our strategic reach, I think we should enlarge our area of consideration.
Regarding this point about maritime domain also being considered as hotspot, I would like to share a personal experience. A few days back, I was in Muscat, and there was an Indian Ocean conference which took place, and there were about 45 countries which were taking part in this conference. In the past occasions, China was not invited. This time round, since the conference was taking place in Muscat, so Oman got the better of the organizers of the conference, and they invited the representative of the China in the Middle East. And he started his speech with a very interesting remark. And he said that China is a near Indian Ocean power. So look at the pivot now which he is trying to take. It means that it is now trying to see India as a threat because of a continuous narrative that we are the next security providers in the Indian Ocean region. Now you see the competition, how it is now broadening from land to also the Indian Ocean region, and there was a common threat which was going around that China was seen neglected, that they are being low in the leadership. So this is one point which I thought I must bring to your notice and corroborate the point which Jan Khandare was trying to make. In addition, I would also like to share here that when we discuss hotspots around India, what is also happening is that there is a claw movement which is taking place. Sorry, it is not coming from the organization which I head, which is claws, but China is trying to put its claws around India, primarily using the maritime as well as the land domain. So you find Nepal, Bhutan, encroachments taking place through various measures, also through Pakistan. In Afghanistan, I see that as of now there is a competition which is going on between India and China to grab the attention, grab the control of Afghanistan. I think both it would remain at the competitive level. I don't think it will go to a conflict level. But this claw which India is being now, it's no more string of pearls. India is now trying to open up this claw by moving rapidly towards maritime domains. We are talking of 175 ship navy We have dropped our little ambition from 200 to 175 given the budgetary constraints which we have. But the fact that we moved to Philippines was a clear signal to our friends of the northern border that they cannot ignore India and the next security provider in Indian Ocean. And I think we need to broaden our narrative, broaden our effort to ensure that the hotspots are made as far wide away from India as possible.
Question to Lawrence.
Yeah, please.
मैं एक तो ये बात समझ नहीं पाता हूं कि इस देश का जो रक्षा तंत्र है उसका अंग्रेजी से इतना मोह क्या है। मेरी समझ के बाहर है कि क्या ये हमारी गुलामी की मानसिकता का प्रतीक है। और लज्जा आती है, एक तक की लज्जा आती है अपने रक्षा विशेषज्ञों को केवल अंग्रेजी में वार्तालाप करते हैं। दूसरी बात हम अपने आप को इस देश इस एरिया में रक्षा प्रोवाइडर बनाना चाहते हैं। हमारे दिवंगत परम आदरणीय जनरल विपिन रावत ने एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में कहा था, भारत इज फेस्ड विद 2.5 fronts वॉर। नाउ आई एज एन एक औसत हिंदू के नाते मैं चारों तरफ चाइना पाकिस्तान बांग्लादेश नैरेटिव और बहुत बात होती है। ये हाफ फ्रंट वॉर क्या है हम जानते हैं, पर क्या हमारे देश के सिक्योरिटी विशेषज्ञों को इस हाफ फ्रंट के बारे में आम हिंदू जनमानस को एजुकेट नहीं करना चाहिए, नंबर 1। और नंबर 2, इसका सॉल्यूशन क्या है। हम तो इतने लज्जित हैं कि हम इस्लामिक एक्सट्रीमिज्म को इस्लामिक एक्सट्रीमिज्म नहीं कहना चाहते। मेरे मुसलमान दोस्त थे, वो कहते कि यार तुम बोलो तो सही सच, तुम्हें लज्जा क्या आती है बोलने में। तो निवेदन ये है कि अगर इस देश का सिक्योरिटी एस्टेब्लिशमेंट आप वाकई सोचते हैं कि आप सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइडर बनेंगे अगर यहां पर हर गांव में शहर में दंगे हो रहे होंगे, ये एक सोचने की बात है कि ये देश सिक्योरिटी प्रोवाइडर तभी तक है जब तक हिंदू बहुसंख्यक हैं, जब तक हिंदू सत्ता में हैं। और इस देश के सिक्योरिटी विशेषज्ञों को हिंदू मुस्लिम पैराडाइम में बोलना पड़ेगा। ये मेरा निवेदन।
आप थोड़ा लेट आए, वरना मैंने अपना पहला संबोधन अपनी मातृभाषा में किया था, हिंदी में। दूसरी बात क्या है कि थर्ड फ्रंट की बिल्कुल चर्चा हुई थी और हमने कहा था कि जब हम हॉटस्पॉट्स को देखते हैं तो मैं उसको आइडियोलॉजिकल प्रिज्म से देखता हूँ। एक ऐसा, आप बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हो। एक टाइम्स नाउ के डिबेट पे एक हमारे आदरणीय चीफ थे जनरल शंकर भाई चौधरी, तो मैंने उनको ये बात कही थी कि हम शायद इतनी देरी में हमको सफलता मिली या पूर्ण सफलता नहीं मिली कश्मीर में, क्योंकि हमने उसका इंडियन आर्मी में ने कभी आइडियोलॉजिकल कंपोनेंट पे ध्यान ही नहीं दिया। तो उन्होंने कहा कि आर्मी का ये काम नहीं है। मैंने कहा कि नहीं, बिल्कुल ये काम है भाई। कोई साइकोलॉजिकल वॉरफेयर नबी नाम की चीज़ भी है, वॉरफेयर का नो योर एनिमी आपका कौन सी किताब से प्रेरित होता है। तो वो मेरे से बहुत क्षुब्ध हो गए और ही वाज वेरी वेरी अपसेट। मैंने पॉलिसी भी भेजा, उन्होंने जवाब भी दिया। खैर ये मैं बिल्कुल आपको उससे सहमत हूँ कि आप देखिए जब हम आइडियोलॉजिकल कंपोनेंट्स की, आखिर भूटान का वो प्राइम मिनिस्टर क्यों, प्राइम मिनिस्टर या राजा है क्या,
कुंभ में आए थे ना,
वो भी आपका एक नेबर है। बहुत म्यांमार के बारे में बात हुई। आपको मैं एक बात बता दूं, ये इनर म्यांमार और आउटर म्यांमार का प्रॉब्लम ये आज से नहीं है, हमेशा से रहा है। और जो आउटर म्यांमार है दैट द लिंक्स हैव बीन वेरी वेरी टेन्यूअस शुरू से। लेकिन जो इनर म्यांमार है, तिलक साहब को बहुत मारे चुके हैं म्यांमार में। आपको मैं बता दूं कि वहाँ के लोग जो मिलिट्री हुंडा जिसको बोलते हैं, दे कैन डिवाउट पुलिस, वो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं। के लिए। और जहाँ तक थर्ड फ्रंट का बात है, जो राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा तंत्र है बहुत सेंसिटिव है। आपने शायद वो वक्तव्य उनका सुना होगा, टेनिस अली दुबन साहब का, जहाँ उन्होंने ये बात कही कि आज की लड़ाइयाँ सिविल सोसाइटी को वेपन बना के लड़ी जा रही हैं, कन्वेंशनल वॉर्स बहुत कॉस्टली हैं, ठीक है। और वो सिविल सोसाइटी में कि वॉर्स आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा। और मैं आप दर्शकों को एक बात बता दूं कि ऐसे 2-3 ओकेजन्स यहाँ पे आए हैं जब ये यूक्रेन टाइप का, आपने यूक्रेनोविच वाला आपने देखा था ना, किस तरीके से प्रेसिडेंशियल पैलेस को अरविंद केजरीवाल का 26 जनवरी 2014 का वो धरना प्रेम भवन में, ही वॉज वेरी वेरी नियर टू इन्वेडिंग दी आपका नॉर्थ ब्लॉक साउथ ब्लॉक कॉम्प्लेक्स। आपका किसान आ गया है, अगर ये गोली भी चल जाती तो वो सिचुएशन आ जाता। तो हम आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा कि ये थर्ड
Islamic extremism has to be taken by the horns.
मैं वही कह रहा हूँ मैं। हाँ, तो ये ऐसा नहीं है थर्ड फ्रंट पे। यस, देयर आर एलिमेंट्स जो उसको बहुत डाउन प्ले करने की कोशिश किया ही उन्होंने, एंड आई कॉल स्पीड एज स्पीड।
अमित जी
सर
मैं हिंदी भी बोल सकता हूँ, पंजाबी मेरी मातृभाषा
कह
है,
दो सर कल
अंग्रेजी
पंजाबी च गल
हुए वो, ठीक है। सिंह साहब आपने बांग्लादेश के बारे में बात की। बांग्लादेश, माय पर्सपेक्टिव इज बांग्लादेश इज अ लैंडलॉक्ड कंट्री, इट हैज अ बॉर्डर, it has an area of 1,44,000 square kilometers, at the highest population density in the world and the lowest literacy rate in the world of 30%, and the population density is 785 in 1981, it's gone to 1,500 something now. As Sadiq Ahmed from Dhaka University has always said that living space ought to be available for the people, and it is the duty of the world that उनको living space दे, और उनका right है to come into India and get living space. So they are following that dictum rightly. The government of India has said in Supreme Court that we can't process the illegal immigrants because Bangladesh उनको अपना national नहीं मानते। Khalid Zia was asked that, she said there is no Bangladesh in India. So Bangladesh, this problem is always going to be there. When are we going to solve that problem? They have, infringed असम को किया है, त्रिपुरा को किया है, बिहार को किया है, बंगाल को किया है। उन्होंने सबकी जगह पे डेमोग्राफी चेंज कर दिया है। डेमोग्राफी इज हिस्ट्री, डेमोग्राफी कैन डिस्ट्रॉय योर कंट्री, इट डिस्ट्रॉयड लेबनान, डिस्ट्रॉयड सीरिया, डिस्ट्रॉयड एवरी कंट्री दैट यू कैन लिंक अप विद द ब्रिटिश। ठीक कर दिए पाजा पे सही। हाँ, मैं बिजादी टीवी बोल सका जब उससे अपनी भीड़ के अंदर संधि ना की थी, पूरा बड़ी किची ला दी।
Any other questions? Yeah, please. Can somebody give them microphone?
Adhika will be loud enough. While we are talking of the hot spots around our country, we also need to look at the asset value of what is happening in Balochistan. What could be done? How can you really, in fact, Chinese presence in border? Are we doing something? Galaxy dance?
Let's go.
ये बोला कि ये और चाइना ने कितने कैब है और सभी एआई तत्कालीन भविष्य में तो देख आ रहा है और आगे बड़ी तरक्की तरीका तक किए और इतना समय की एआई डेवलपमेंट और उसमें वापस के बहुत बड़ा समय। सो व्हाट इज
चाइना की दृष्टिकोण से उनका पीटर्स मैटर्स एक्टिव है और टिबेट यदि आप किसी भी चाइना इजारे की बिरादरी के जरिए यदि किसी सेशन वाला इंडियन उनकी रिएक्शन बहुत अब ये के विषय देखते हुए इस विषय के ऊपर भारत सुनिश्चित कभी सवाल
Okay. I think we stop here and take this because otherwise there will be too many. So Afghanistan, sir, you can. Sir,
Yeah, thank you for the question. So let me ask you one thing. To take this, Balochistan can be an asset to, you should take advantage of it. But let me ask you and you, this audience, how many of you follow Balochistan, what is happening in Balochistan? You used to be the headlines. And how many of you follow Baloch leaders? Are there followers on Twitter or X now or on Facebook? Amplify their tweets. Tweet in favor of Balochistan. How many? 2, 3, 4, 5. Why not everybody? If it is of such an asset, if we feel so strongly about it, all of us should be following Baloch handles. You follow what? Come to know so many. Amplify what they are saying in our groups. Put it out in their WhatsApp groups. See, it's very easy. If you look at the map, India is no border with Balochistan. Right? You had a border with East Pakistan. You could do what you had done when the situation became right. How do you expect government? What do you expect government of India to do in Balochistan? Unless if there is some other opinion. We need to some other issue. It's only in that respect. Otherwise, government of India is part of that system. As for it's all. So, while government of India is doing whatever it can do, it has to do, I think all of us have a responsibility equally to follow, amplify, and help the poor Baloch who have been so brutalized by Pakistan, not now, but from 1948 onwards.
There was this question about ये आपने AI का एक सवाल पूछा था respecting our audience sentiment कि हिंदी में बोलना चाहिए, तो मैं सिर्फ यही बताना चाहता हूँ कि यहाँ इसी गैदरिंग में कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जिन्होंने मुहिम छेड़ रखी है कि नेशनल सिक्योरिटी पर्सपेक्टिव हिंदी में बात की जाएगी, और अगर आप यूट्यूब पे जाएंगे तो हम उनको देख सकते हैं. हाँ, उनका जो व्यू पॉइंट होगा वो ज़्यादा बैलेंस होगा, प्लेइंग टू द गैलरी नहीं होगा, रियलिटी में सीमित रहता है, इसलिए शायद सभी लोग नहीं देख पाते हैं. सो आपका जो AI का सवाल है बहुत बढ़िया सवाल है, और ये सवाल खाली AI के लिए नहीं है, सारी जितनी भी टेक्नोलॉजी है, एसिमेट्री अभी भी ज़्यादा बढ़ गई है चाइना में और इंडिया में, कि हमको स्मार्ट सोल्यूशंस ईजाद करने पड़ेंगे, स्मार्ट सोल्यूशन ढूंढने पड़ेंगे. उसके लिए हमको फोकस करना पड़ेगा प्रायोरिटीज, कौन कौन सी जगह पे हम पैसा ज़्यादा इन्वेस्ट करें, कौन सी जगहों पे हम कम करें. लेगेसी सिस्टम है, जो कि पुराने सिस्टम है, उन पे हम थोड़ा कम खर्च करके इन सब चीज़ों पे ज़्यादा वो करें. और डीप सीक एक बहुत बढ़िया एग्जाम्पल है कि जिसके लिए अमेरिका ने पता नहीं कितने अरब डॉलर खर्च किए, उसे थोड़े से $6 मिलियन में पूरा सोल्यूशन दे दिया आपको. और ये नहीं मैं बता दूँ आपको कि कई चीज़ें ऐसी हो रही हैं जो कि इस समय हम लोग कर रहे हैं, इंटरनली कर रहे हैं, जिससे कि हमारा भी जो AI एम्पावरमेंट है सेना के अंदर वो काफ़ी बढ़ चुका है.
मैं एक चीज़ आप सबको बताना चाहता हूँ. पहली बात, किसी को लज्जा नहीं है, ये याद जान लीजिए. मैं फौज में हूँ और मैं हर एक अपने जवान से उस भाषा में बात करता हूँ जो उस जवान को समझता है. और दूसरी बात कि समुदाय में अभी सभा में बहुत से दक्षिण भारतीय भी हैं, तो हम सभी उसको मिक्स करके बात कर रहे हैं. तारागढ़ में इसमें से शामिल हैं. ओके, अगली बात, एक चीज जो हमने अभी यहाँ पे डिस्कशन के हमको एक टॉपिक दिया है, हॉटस्पॉट्स अराउंड इंडिया, और उसमें हम मिक्स कर रहे थे, जिसमें आपने एक वैलिड पॉइंट दिया कि अंदर का क्या हो,
लेकर दो टॉपिक्स हमको नहीं किया दिया, और मेरे ख्याल से किसी और को दिया जाएगा.
वो अगले सेशन में है वो.
तो एक विषय वो है. अगली चीज मैं सभी के लिए बताना चाहता हूँ कि ये हॉटस्पॉट आप डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, इससे क्या होगा, इसका एक्शन क्या हमने क्या लिखा है. और एक सफल एक्शन आप देखिए, जब हमें कश्मीर को हैंडल करना था, आज से 3-4 साल पहले जब नेशनल सिक्योरिटी, राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा के लिए हमने क्या किया, एनआईए को स्थापित किया, एफएटीएफ को हम लाए। तो सोर्स कहाँ है फंडिंग का? अब आप सोच के देखिए जो मैं आपको बताता हूँ। अफगानिस्तान, पाकिस्तान, वहां से ड्रग्स आते हैं, म्यांमार से भी ड्रग्स आते हैं। सोर्स वो है, और उस सोर्स को अगर आप टैकल नहीं करेंगे, आप किसी भी आइडियोलॉजी की बात करते रहिए, लेकिन आप सोर्स को खत्म नहीं कर पाएंगे। आज भी वो जो सोर्स है, अब कोई भी माने या ना माने, काफी कुछ इंटेलिजेंस ऑपरेशन अमेरिका है और बाकी भी, वो तो ड्रग्स से ही फाइनेंस होते हैं ना। तो आपको सबको ये सोचना है कि अगर वो ड्रग्स आते हैं, और आप देखिए कहीं में भी, आप अमेरिका में भी ड्रग्स बहुत कंज्यूम हो रहे हैं, सो इंडिया में भी हो रहे हैं, पाकिस्तान में भी हो रहे हैं, और वो ड्रग्स हमारे बच्चों को बेच के हमारे ऊपर सत्ता करने की कोशिश है। तो हमें उस चीज से ज्यादा ध्यान देना है, बजाय इसके कि हम अपना समय व्यर्थ दें।
आपने एक सवाल पूछा था तिब्बत के ऊपर। तिब्बत की पॉलिसी, क्योंकि जो इशू इस तरह का है उसके ऊपर ओपनली डिस्कस नहीं किया जाता है, लेकिन कुछ चीजें मैं आप लोगों के साथ शेयर कर सकता हूँ कि अभी जो तिब्बत का जो रिलेशनशिप है हमारा इंडिया का और तिब्बत का, पहली चीज तो इसमें यह है कि कुछ चीजें बदली की जा रही हैं इंडिया और तिब्बत के हिसाब से। हमको किस तरह से इस पूरे मैटर को आगे पब्लिक में डिस्कोर्स में कैसे डिस्कस करना है, उसके ऊपर काफी काम चल रहा है। दूसरी चीज ये है कि इस समय इंडिया और तिब्बत और चाइना, इन तीनों के बीच में एक बड़ा क्रिटिकल पीरियड आ रहा है। दलाई लामा की जो उम्र है वो इस समय काफी ज्यादा हो गई है, और उनके सक्सेशन का अभी तक कोई कुछ कॉन्क्रीट चीज सामने बाहर निकल के नहीं आई है। चाइना कुछ कोशिश कर रहा है कि दलाई लामा एग्नोस्टिक या दलाई लामा के इंडिपेंडेंट हो जाए चाइना के अंदर जो तिब्बत है। लेकिन इंडिया की भी कुछ कोशिश होनी चाहिए, मेरे हिसाब से, ये मेरा पर्सनल व्यू है कि हो सकता है हम कोशिश करें कि जो उनका रीइंकार्नेशन है वो हम इंडिया में ऑर्केस्ट्रेट कराएं, और उसके बाद देखें कि क्या असर होता है। ये सारी चीजें जो है ना बहुत हाई लेवल पे डिस्कस होती हैं, बट ये नहीं समझिए कि हम लोग कुछ कर नहीं रहे हैं। हमारे अंदर भी लोग हैं जो इन सब चीजों को डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। आई थिंक इतना इतना बोल करके मैं ये कहूंगा कि बी रेस्ट श्योर्ड, आप लोग सेफ हाथों में हैं।
हम लोगों ने बात की, इसमें एक प्रश्न आया था, आप लोगों ने कहा तीसरा पाकिस्तान भी है। तीसरा पाकिस्तान इंटर और तीसरे पाकिस्तान को अगर हम ध्यान दें तो टुकड़ों में कई जगहों पे है, भारत के अलग अलग कोनों में तीसरा पाकिस्तान। इस तीसरे पाकिस्तान को सपोर्ट करने के लिए भारत के हर कोने में लोग हैं जो कि भारतीय पोशाक में ही हैं। उन पे हमारा क्या कार्य चल रहा है वो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण है, उस पे हमें समाधान चाहिए।
We need to stop vocalization of E. जी
Balaji, we close the questions now. हाँ जी, our dignitaries are here for some time, तो आप लोग उनसे और पर्सनली भी सवाल कर सकते हैं। Thank you so very much for this delightful, impactful session. गायत्री जी,
Gayatri is now is the is you mean the